morning, I'm Maiki Oreta, and you're watching Business 360, where we break down the numbers, connect the dots, and give you the developments and the insights you need to navigate, adapt, and lead. Let's dive right in. Watchdogs reveal the alleged existence of 230 billion pesos in pork barrel funds in the proposed 2026 budget. U.S. gold futures surged past the $4,000 per ounce mark for the first time on Tuesday. And 3 U.S.-based scientists win the 2025 Nobel Prize in Physics for experiments that reveal quantum physics in action. First, let's take a look at how global financial markets performed overnight. U.S. stocks closed lower as investors, lacking fresh economic data due to the government shutdown, turned to secondary indicators and comments from Federal Reserve officials for guidance on monetary policy. Cyclical sectors such as home building, airlines, and transportation underperformed the broader market. Fed Governor Stephen Moran reiterates the case for continued rate cuts, warning that keeping policy too restrictive could slow growth further.
Today's the market's down a little bit. I mean, you've got a couple things going on. You obviously have the continuing shutdown of the government. There was some news today that maybe people wouldn't be able to get their back pay. And there's some worry about, if this continues to drag on, its implications for the economy.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average was down by 0.2%, the S&P 500 lower by 0.4%, and the Nasdaq in the red by 0.7%. Over in Europe, markets ended flat. The UK's FTSE higher by 0.1%. Germany's DAX flat, and France's CAC 40 flat as well. In the global market, U.S. futures surged past the $4,000 per ounce mark for the first time on Tuesday. Rallies driven by expectations of a Federal Reserve rate cut later this month and strong safe haven demand amid the ongoing U.S. government shutdown. December gold futures settled 0.7% higher at $4,400 after earlier touching a record high of $4,014.
Gold is going up right now for a number of reasons. Most recently, significantly, it is a combination of interest rates, tariffs, and a general erosion of the U.S. dollar, which has lost at least 10 to 12% of its value against the other currencies globally in the last 6 to 9 months.
Steady but short of targets, the World Bank sees the Philippine economy weathering global pressures, but warns momentum is slowing. The World Bank maintains its Philippine growth forecast for this year in 2026, despite heightened uncertainty and slowing global momentum. In its latest East Asia and Pacific economic update released Tuesday, the multilateral lender keeps its outlook for the Philippines at 5.3% this year and at 5.4% for 2026, unchanged from its June projections. These forecasts fall short of government's targets of 5.5 to 6.5% for 2025 and 6 to 7% for 2026. The Philippines is expected to be the fourth fastest growing economy in East Asia and the Pacific this year, behind Vietnam at 6.6%, Mongolia 5.9%, and Palau 5.7%. For 2026, the country is projected to rank third, after Vietnam at 6.1% and Mongolia at 5.6%. The World Bank also notes that most regional economies now face higher tariffs, but the Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam are less affected for now, as electronics and semiconductors remain exempt. The latest World Bank outlook shows that the Philippines remains a regional bright spot, but momentum will depend on how quickly public spending accelerates, private investment rebounds, and structural reforms translate into jobs and confidence. Government measures help cushion the impact of inflation on Filipino families. That's according to Agriculture Secretary Francisco Tu Laurel. These measures include the importation of select vegetables and fish to augment local supply and keep prices stable. On Tuesday, the Philippine Statistics Authority reported that headline inflation quickened from 1.5% in August to 1.7% in September. The Agriculture Department also kept the maximum suggested retail price for 5% broken imported rice at 43 pesos per kilo, despite the implementation of the import ban. Authorities say that the goal is to balance price stability with farmer protection, a delicate task as food costs remain the biggest driver of inflation and a major pressure point for consumer spending. Civil society groups turn up the heat on Congress, slamming the House version of the 2026 budget for allegedly containing at least 230 billion pesos in pork barrel and patronage-based projects, despite promises of a cleaner and more transparent process. In an open letter, the groups called for a full rewrite of the budget and a redirection of funds to social protection, health, and sustainable transport. They also urged Congress to restore the 50 billion peso cut from the 4Ps program last year. Signatories include the People's Budget Coalition, Philippine Budget Watch, and former Senator Franklin Quirelon. Most of the groups were granted observer status by the House for the 2026 budget process. The allegations add pressure on lawmakers to prove that reforms are real, as public demand grows for transparency, accountability, and a shift toward programs that deliver tangible benefits to Filipinos. Another religious group joins the growing call for transparency in the flood control scandal probe of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure. Iglesia ni Cristo Executive Minister Eduardo Manalo said on Tuesday the ICI should not only be transparent with its findings, but also publicize the entire process of its investigation. Manalo adds that they are closely monitoring the flood control investigations and hope those responsible will be held accountable. The Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines has issued a similar call, saying transparency is crucial to preventing speculation that the flood control probe will be whitewashed. Growing clamor from religious and civic groups underscores how the flood control scandal has become a test case for the government's promise of clean governance and public accountability. The Independent Commission for Infrastructure denies reports that one of its members is planning to resign amid concerns over its limited powers to fully carry out its mandate. ICI Executive Director and spokesman Brian Keith Hosaka says the commission remains intact and continues to conduct investigations, adding that the panel is holding a hearing today. Hosaka was responding to claims made by Caloocan Representative Edgar Erice, who said an ICI member was considering stepping down due to constraints in exercising investigative powers. The ICI also assured the public that there will be no whitewash in its probe, following earlier calls from the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines for full transparency in the investigation. The statement comes as pressure builds for the ICI to prove its independence and effectiveness, a crucial test of the government's commitment to accountability and clean infrastructure governance. Corruption isn't just political, it's economic too. When public funds are misused and systems fail, it weakens confidence in government and markets alike. Now, the cost isn't just in pesos, it's in lost trust, lower investment, and slower growth. To break down how corruption erodes the economy and what reforms can restore confidence, we're joined by former BIR Commissioner Kim Jacinto Henares. Hi, Kim. Good morning.
Good morning to you and to your viewers and listeners.
Okay, Kim, we can ask people about this, how this administration is doing, but opinions are subjective. So let's focus on the numbers. They don't lie. When you look at the data, tax collections, foreign direct investments, and tourism arrivals, what do they tell you about the leadership and the will of this administration?
Well, I think the numbers tell you that there's really something wrong, no? Because since we got the 3 credit upgrade to investment grade during Pinoy's time, we have never been upgraded again. No? And secondly, our foreign direct investment compared to other countries is not doing well. No? We have always been perennially expecting that investment will be diverted to us. No? There were several movement out of China, but we never caught that significant amount of investment. And the other thing is our budget. Before, we're always trying to depend more on revenue collection, lesser on debt. Now, our budget is funded 40% by debt. No? So that's tell you there's really something wrong.
Yeah, that's right. In the past, our budget was supported by revenue. Now it's being sustained by debt. What does this shift tell you about where we are fiscally and where we're headed as a country?
Or fiscally, because your debt, when you borrow, you still have to repay it. So the more borrowing you have, you will be doing a lot of debt service, diverting money from social program, from capex, no, capital expenditure, from infrastructure. So that tells you that going forward, we will have less money to spend for our welfare of our people and for taking care of infrastructure, which is needed to attract foreign investment. And we don't have foreign investment, most probably also our domestic enterprise would not really invest into business also, therefore lowering also employment opportunities.
Yeah.
So it's a chain reaction.
Yeah, it's a chain reaction, goes to the cost of corruption. The U.S. State Department, again, describes corruption in the Philippines as pervasive. From a tax and investor standpoint, Kim, how big is the cost of corruption to growth and competitiveness in the Philippines?
Well, you can see that already in the slowing down of our GDP growth, no? And you can see that also in our tourism, it never really went up. Even after the pandemic, we never really was able to recover, no? And third, we keep on spending on something that we keep on repeating, no? Like, for example, you spend on infrastructure. I would think that when you spend for it once, you move to other project. But no, if you look at the way we do our infrastructure, you keep on repeating the same infrastructure project all over again, which is funny because it's supposed to be a capex, no? It's supposed to last for 50 years. So why do we see people digging up Good Street and repairing it again? Those are things that, to me, are indicator that there's something wrong.
Yeah, that's right. You've been at the center of government, Kim, where accountability was part of that fight. From that vantage point, why does corruption keep coming back?
Well, I think there's really something wrong with us as a people. No, there's something wrong with our values. No, we give premium to wealth, to money, to being rich, and I think the culture of bribery and materialism is so pervasive that whoever you put there, it keeps on. If the people who are running the government are there not for public service but for their own material benefit, then corruption will keep on coming back. No?
Yeah.
And other thing is the reward for corruption. The immediate reward is so great. No, it's millions of pesos. Whereas your salary, no matter how you increase the salary of government official, it will never even reach 10% of what you will earn from illicit proceeds.
Yeah, it's so hard to earn an honest living. Kim, business leaders have told me that when the priority development assistance was scrapped for being pork barrel, lawmakers had to get creative. So they discovered that through insertions, that these insertions had no limits and no guardrail. So corruption came back with a vengeance. What are your thoughts on corruption being reinvented under another name?
It will, history has shown us that if you want to do something bad, people will find ways, no, to do it. No matter what you try to do, no, if the person who's running it, they themselves does not have self-control, no. Especially if in the making laws, if the lawmaker are not sincere in serving their country, they will always craft laws that will have a loophole that will allow them to take advantage of it and benefit themselves. No? So it has to emanate from the person itself and the value that the person have
Yeah.
going to government service. It cannot really be addressed by laws and all those things because the law is crafted by people and they would use their value to craft a law. Now, if their values are not good and they're really want to do something bad, they will craft laws that will allow them to do
Yeah.
something.
Going to checks and balances, we've got the BIR, we've got the COA, we've got the Ombudsman. They all hold part of the corruption process, but they often work in silos. Why can't these agencies connect the dots when red flags appear in both taxes and in spending?
I think the silo is really the bank secrecy law, no? Because the most important thing is to leave the bank secrecy law for government agencies so that they can really follow the money. But, no matter how good your law are, if the person who are enforcing it or implementing it are not diligently implementing it and does not use common sense, then no matter how good your laws are, it will be the same. Like, for example, the anti-money laundering law already says that if you bounce out or covered person will automatically report all transaction 500,000 pesos and above. And all these are automatically reported to AMLA. No? So what did AMLA do? I think that's the question. How come the people in Land Bank were able to allow people to withdraw 400 something million pesos in a single day? Right? That should have already sent a red flag, and AMLA should have automatically investigated it already. But it seems like most things, we just keep on collecting data, but we're not using it. So there.
Okay. On another front, former Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales said that she questions the president's no sacred cows pledge in the flood control controversy. For your experience at the BIR, how realistic is it to hold powerful people to account?
Well, if the head of the agency wants to do that and has the political will to do it, it can be done. No? But of course, it needs also the support of the head of the government, no, which is the president.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I think we're three branches of government. No, we have legislative and judiciary. Aside from the executive exerting its political will, the judiciary should also be exerting their political will. The same with the legislative. No, you cannot just have one body doing it. No?
Yeah.
Because even the executive keep on filing cases, but if the judiciary does not do their bit, then nothing will happen.
Right. Okay. Now, let's talk about the new ombudsman. You attended the JBC public interviews for ombudsman earlier this year. Now that Justice Boying Remulla has been appointed, what would be his first real test?
Well, his first real test is to show that he's serious about investigating wrongdoing and that he's fair. No, so that's really for him to show people that he deserved to be the ombudsman and that he will do what is required of him, as required by law and as required by our country. To make sure that people who committed wrongdoing are brought before the law, no, and held accountable.
Yeah. How important is it for him to act independently from Malacanang, and what will signal that independence to the public?
Well, the ombudsman is an independent commission, no? So I think aside from one of the very essence of being an ombudsman is being independent and doing what needs to be done given the certain situation. What will show his independence, I cannot We just have to wait, no? And see what he will do. And from there, make our own judgment.
Last question. Former Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales is suggesting that former congressman and the guy at the center of the corruption scandal, Zaldico's passport be canceled, that he can be compelled to return and face charges. Would you support this approach?
Yes, actually, we've done that before. No? I think we can't. The NDFA has the authority and the power to cancel the passport. They need not go to court. No? And I think, given all the situation, they have all the basis to cancel the passport. No? Since ICI and Vince Dizon, the PWH, has already filed cases with the ombudsman. No?
Okay, and before we let you go, Kim, what's your message to Filipinos, especially those cynical about the government's fight against corruption?
Well, I guess for me, all of us just need to also contribute to this fight. No? That, like for example, I've been a banker asked me what my opinion is about the central bank circular. About the 500,000 cash withdrawal. No? And they said there are clients who are complaining. My take is that all of us should contribute to trying to fight this corruption. No? It might be inconvenient for us, but it's a small way for us to help. Right? We keep on complaining about corruption, but this is one way to help fight corruption. It might be inconvenient. So we have to invest in it, invest our time, invest our effort if we really want to fight corruption. This is not an easy fight. All of us has to do something, and that something might be inconvenient for us, but if we want result, we should be willing to live with that inconvenience.
That's right. All of us can do something in the fight against corruption. Thank you so much for your time, former BIR Commissioner Kim Hernandez.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now we're taking a quick break. Please stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and the narratives that matter most to your bottom line. Welcome back. Let's check on how Asian markets are doing this Wednesday morning. Right now, let's take a look at that. The Nikkei 225 is flat with a downward bias, lower by less than 0.1%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index lower by much more, down by 1.3% in early trade. Shanghai's Composite going the other way, up by 0.5%. And Singapore's Straits Times Index lower by 0.4%. Here at home, the main gauge rebounded yesterday as investors reacted positively to a cooler than expected inflation print. The PSE index rose 1.4% to 60.84, recovering from the 6,000 level as traders bought back into the market. Turnover reached about 10 billion pesos from 2.4 billion shares traded, though value remained thin at just over 4 billion net of block sales. The rebound came after September inflation eased to 1.7%, rekindling hopes of a BSP rate cut when the Monetary Board meets this week. Analysts say that the softer inflation number boosted market sentiment and spurred bargain hunting after recent sell-offs. The big picture, investors are now watching whether the BSP will follow through with a rate cut, which could provide a stronger lift to sentiment heading into the end of the year. Taking a look at the PSE index this morning as of 10:25, main gauge is in the green. Everything is in the green right now. PSEI is up by 0.5% to 61.15 rather. All shares index up by 0.4% to 36.89. All the sub-indices are trading in the green, with the services counter up the most, up by 1.4%. Total volume is at 474 million shares, valued at 1.23 billion pesos. Market breadth is positive, with 67 advancers, 43 decliners, and 55 stocks unchanged. Taking a look at the currencies, the peso opened at 21 against the dollar, down from its previous close of 58 pesos and 10 centavos. The country's unemployment rate drops to 3.9% in August. Data from the Philippine Statistics Authority shows this is lower than the 4% in the same month last year and 5.3% in July of 2025. This translates to 2.03 million unemployed Filipinos in August, down from 2.07 million in August of last year and 2.59 million in July of this year. In the world of science, 3 U.S.-based scientists win the 2025 Nobel Prize in Physics for experiments that reveal quantum physics in action. The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences named John Clark, Michael Devret, and John Martinez as the year's laureates. Their groundbreaking work in the 1980s used superconducting circuits to show that quantum mechanical properties can exist on a large, macroscopic scale. The Academy says that the discovery opened the door to a new generation of quantum technology, including quantum computers, cryptography, and advanced sensors. The 11 million Swedish crown award, worth about $1.2 million, underscores how quantum research is fueling the next wave of global innovation. For the Philippines, the breakthrough resonates with our own push to move up the value chain in electronics and semiconductor sectors that could one day power quantum computing worldwide. And that's it for Business 360. I'm Maiki Oreta. Thank you for joining us, and keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.